Hello and welcome to In the World, Trinity's monthly program looking at current events from a Christian perspective. I'm Jaime Snyder. My co-host this month is Lori Hinton. Lori, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Our first story for the month. As of September 6, 2018, Amber Geiger had been a police officer in Dallas, Texas for 4 years. She had just finished her shift and made her way home. After parking in the parking garage, she made her way into her apartment, only it wasn't her apartment. Geiger lived on the 3rd floor of her building, but that night she mistakenly parked on the 4th floor of the garage. When she arrived at what she thought was her home, she found the door slightly ajar. She entered and saw Brandt Jean sitting on the couch. Mr. Jean was watching television in his own apartment, 1 floor above Geiger's. In the events that followed, Officer Geiger pulled her firearm and shot Mr. Brandt, killing him. Last week, on October 1st, the Dallas County jury found Geiger guilty of murder, and the following day, she was sentenced to serve 10 years in prison. She will be eligible for parole in 5. But after the sentence was announced, Jean's 18-year-old brother, Brandt, took the stand and spoke directly to Geiger. What he said has gotten nationwide attention. I know if you go to God and ask him, he will forgive you. I love you just like anyone else, and I am not going to hope you rot and die. I personally want the best for you. I wasn't going to say this in front of my family. I don't even want you to go to jail. I want the best for you because I know that's exactly what Botham would want for you. Give your life to Christ. I think giving your life to Christ is the best thing Botham would want for you. He then asked Judge Tammy Kemp if he could come down from the stand and give Geiger a hug, a request that Judge Kemp granted. Judge Kemp then went back to her chambers and returned with the Bible. She gave the Bible to Geiger and told her, "You can have mine. I have 3 or 4 more at home. This is the one I use every day. This is your job for the next month. It says right here, John 3:16, and this is where you start. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. This has been put in front of you for a reason. He has a purpose for you." Such a tragic tale. I mean, so many lives turned upside down in such a very fast moment that just changed so many things. But the forgiveness, that he bestowed on her to just, speak from the heart and want the best for her, to not even want her to go to jail after, such a heinous act that, turned their family upside down. That's love, and that's the love of Christ coming out in that statement.
Yeah, that's something that you can't, as a human, we can't do, very easily. And I find it amazing that in these really tragic situations that these families, somebody in the family steps up, and he says, I didn't really want to do this in front of my family, but he said, I don't even want you to go to jail, which I find totally amazing, because forgiveness is not only just saying, like, I forgive you, but you're really supposed to want the best for that person, after that. And so him saying that, I thought that was amazing. I loved his wording. I'm not going to hope you rot and die, which I thought was great.
Give yourself over to Christ.
Yeah.
And that's really the courage to step up and speak up in front of not only his family, but the courtroom. And now it's gone, viral. His words have reached so many people. Right. That cleansing effect of that forgiveness really just kind of makes you take a deep breath and take restock and look around you and see what can you forgive in your life.
Right. Yeah, because, that was such a huge thing. But we don't even think about all the things, the little things that we hold against people, that we remember, that we judge people for. The one amazing part of that story was the very ending. I thought it was amazing that the judge gave him a Bible.
I agree.
Or her, excuse me. And I thought, in today's world,
you don't hear that often.
What a chance she took, because I don't know if she's going to get in trouble for that. Like, I don't know if she's allowed to do that or if that's just a thing.
Another act of courage.
I was like, wow, she took a real bold step there.
Right.
And
but that's an empowering act. Look at the ripple effect of him offering this forgiveness, and then her offering the Bible, and what other ripple effects can we have from those two courageous acts of talking about Christ?
I know, and wouldn't it be nice if that continued while she was in prison, that somebody there heard the story and said, I know you have a Bible, read this.
And I hope what people take from this is just what I said a moment ago. What can you forgive in your life? Can you take a deep breath and forgive the person that just cut you off in traffic? Yeah. And that's a great place to start, just with those little things that you were mentioning about.
That's
where can we radiate forgiveness in our life?
Yeah. I think that is probably one of the things that most people not forget. I think they take it as when I get to that point, I'll do it. But, we pray the Lord's Prayer, every week at church, and hopefully more than that during the week, and forgive us as we forgive others.
That's exactly
and
right.
We say those words, but do we mean those words?
And do we feel it?
And do we really mean it when we say it? Are we just saying empty words? And I think this is not empty words. The story is not empty words.
It's full of love.
This is Christ in this person, and I think it's amazing that just the whole. I think anytime anybody forgives somebody huge like this, like the Amish shooting and stuff like that, I think it makes big news because it happens so few times. Right. I can't imagine how many times that judge sat there in a courtroom over other cases and watched the families just stay bitter.
Right.
And just stay bitter and stay bitter. It's amazing story.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, Kanye West is a rapper, singer, songwriter, and record producer who has sold over 140 million records and won 21 Grammy Awards. On September 29th, at a listening party for his new record, Jesus is King, West announced that he would no longer be releasing secular music, but would be confining himself solely to gospel songs from here on out. West's wife, Kim Kardashian West, in an interview on the television program The View, stated, Kanye started this to really heal himself, and it was a really personal thing, and it was just friends and family. He has had an amazing evolution of being born again and being saved by Christ. His latest album, Jesus is King, was slated for release at the end of September, but has not yet been released, causing some people to speculate that his label may not be pleased with the overtly Christian tone of the album. However, the album reportedly includes tracks titled Follow God, New Body, Sunday, and Selah. Well, I'm not a Kanye West fan, but anytime that we can, bring the love of Christ and bring the gospel to a more mainstream audience, I think it's a terrific opportunity to bring someone else to the Lord's table.
It is, and I wonder, at the end of the article they say, well, maybe it's not being released because the record label's not real happy about that. Well, you wonder how much control does the artist have over that,
right?
Over the record company. And I mean, he's a big enough name,
exactly,
that hopefully he'll be able to fully release it, and, and they would do as much to promote it as they would.
That was my thoughts too. Given the clout that he has, with his obvious stature, I would hope that they would give him some artistical freedoms to be able to do this. I mean that is big news for someone that is such a huge international star to come forward with a gospel album like this. So I'd love to hear it. I mean I'm definitely interested to hear it. I love gospel music. It speaks to my soul, and so I like I said, anytime we can bring the gospel of Christ to the mainstream is a great opportunity.
I loved what Kim Kardashian West said. She said, Kanye started this to really heal himself. She says, and it was a really personal thing. It was just friends and family, and that he'd had an amazing evolution of being born again and saved. And I wonder if she really understands that.
Right.
Like, usually when people have a decision like that later in life, especially, you can so tell a difference in them. You see that God actually made a difference in their life. And I really, it sounds like maybe she understands that.
I kind of get that feeling too. When you know someone intimately, we talked about intimacy today, just in the worship. When you know someone intimately like that, and you're kind of on the journey with them. So I hope that they're both on a journey to Christ together. Yes, definitely. And again, just like our previous topic, to have someone of this stature talking about Christ on The View,
right.
That's amen. Thank you, God.
Right? Yeah, that's probably the only time it was.
I think it's the only time I've heard him talking about Christ on The View. That's for sure.
Yes, that is sure. I was thinking about what you said about you love gospel music, and we have an administrator here, Jean Brown, and her favorite thing is to play music in the afternoon, so she'll play her gospel music. But one of her favorites is Elvis and his gospel music.
Sure, absolutely,
love it. You'll be in the office, I'll be in there working, and I'll hear Elvis.
I love it.
Out his gospel songs.
Great.
So, and I saw, it was funny. I saw just a little, some words, I guess, of one of his songs, and I don't remember which one it was, but one of them said something about Chick-fil-A and Sunday. And it was kind of funny, yeah.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I'll look forward. I'll
kind of
all
rhymed,
that.
But it was really.
I will give it a shot, especially if he's preaching the gospel. Right. So, might be my first Kanye West album that I own.
I am. Yeah, I'm not a rap aficionado, so yeah, I probably wouldn't recognize it if I heard it, but. Now I'm going to listen for Chick-fil-A.
Yep, definitely. That's right. Okay, so our final story.
Our final story. It says, in 2015, the scholarly journal Current Biology published an article claiming that the children who were raised in religious households were less generous than children raised in non-religious homes. However, the journal has recently issued a retraction. The article's findings ran counter to what another scholar, Azim Sharif, had concluded in his research, causing Sharif to take another look. He found that the 2015 research made a mistake. The researchers failed to properly control for the country where the children were raised. When Sharif applied the proper controls, the alleged lack of generosity disappeared. Sharif's findings were published in the same journal the following year. While 80 different media outlets covered the original article's findings, only 4 ran stories about Sharif discovering the error. Finally, this year, the authors of the original article and the Current Biology Journal issued a retraction. In their retraction, the authors said, when we reanalyzed these data to correct this error, we found that country of origin, rather than religious affiliation, is the primary predictor of several of the outcomes. In the meantime, another researcher, Tyler J. Vanderweel, has found that children who attended religious services regularly were 29% more likely to have high levels of volunteering than those who did not. Those who attended services regularly were also 87% more likely to subsequently have high levels of forgiveness. And those who prayed and meditated regularly were 47% more likely to have a high sense of mission. Again, the effects of religious upbringing seem to contribute to a greater generosity toward others many years later during young adulthood. So when I saw this article, there were 2 things that came to mind. One was I would love to go back on my Facebook feed and look this up. I don't know if I can find it or not, but a family relative had posted an article one time, and it was very similar to this. If it was not this article, it was very, very, very in a similar vein. But the data, they said it was this international study, over 1,000 people, and they named like a certain number of countries. But when you took 1,000 and you divided by the number of countries, it was 16 people per country.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, really?
Yeah.
16 people. So I don't know if it was the same study, but same idea, that you were like, well, when you really look at it, really? Like, that doesn't even make sense. And then the other thing was that one little sentence that said, while 80 different media outlets covered the original article's findings, only 4 ran stories about the error.
That's exactly right. We've talked about countless studies and various stories on this program in the world, and studies can always spin it, whichever way they want. And I find it, really telling that they were so eager to talk about the negative story that came out initially, and 4, had the bravery to talk about the mistakes made in it and the retraction of it. So that's really telling of our society today, to jump on that negative, and then sweep the positive under the rug.
Yeah, because now the perception is that those of us who go to church are not generous, right? Which doesn't make any sense.
Couldn't be further from the truth.
I had a conversation with somebody after one of the natural disasters here in the U.S., and I don't remember where it was, but there was an Indian tribe that was nearby, and they had donated all the costs for the funeral for this group of people. And it was a big story and whatever. And so the person posted something like, Indians yay, churches boo. Oh. Something crazy like that, right? So I was trying to explain that just because it wasn't in the news doesn't mean that Christians weren't doing the same thing. And I could not get across to her that, like, Samaritan's Purse and stuff like that, it's what they do every day. It's like we don't need to have it in the news every day. Because
Absolutely.
It's an everyday thing.
And that's,
right?
that's one of the things that's kind of counterintuitive about the generous spirit
Yeah.
that we as Christians feel, is that we're not out there to get attention for it.
Right.
And so that's really counterintuitive to be talking about how churches aren't promoting, the good that they're doing,
Right.
because that's not what we're doing
Not
it
what
for.
we're supposed to
That's
do.
not what
Yeah.
we're doing it for. So again, a frustrating study.
Yes.
Those always frustrate me, and how they can be spun in different ways. But I'm thrilled with the retraction,
Yeah.
and the new results of the survey, because obviously we are generous people, generous in the love of Christ,
Yeah.
and the things that we do for our community,
Yeah.
small and large. And so,
Yeah, not perfect.
right.
You know,
Far from
not perfect, but
imperfectly
forgiven.
perfect. Right.
And, our call is to be generous. I mean, that's, love God, love others. I mean, that's what we're called to do. So no matter what that love, like we talked in the first story, that love was forgiveness,
Right.
And love is generosity in a lot of ways, not just financial, but time and
Yes.
time and talent
Spirit.
and treasure.
Yes,
basically.
exactly.
But I just hate the fact that society 80,
Yes.
did negative, 4 did positive.
But we know the truth.
We do. We do.
Well, it was great having you on the show
too.
with us this
Thanks.
month, Lori. Thank you
Yep.
so much for joining us for In the World. Tune in the second Wednesday of each month for a new episode of In the World, where we look at Christian topics, or we look at regular topics from a Christian perspective. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.